Hello everyone, welcome to another video. I'm Michelle, and today we're going to make this, I think I'm going to call it the animal print bracelet. Okay, and here's what it looks like on. Alright, and we will get a materials list going. Alright, we're going to need some 8OC beads. I've got turquoise. Going to need some 4mm fire polish. I've got the blue zircon AB. We're going to need some 4mm cubes. I've got like a peridot green. We're going to need some of these Czech glass. I'm not sure what they're calling them. They're like almost like the Ava beads, but not quite. They're 2-hole beads, and I bought them on the strand at Hobby Lobby. Alright, we're going to need 8mm crystal for the closure, and then I've got some 2mm heishi beads. Okay, I've got a size 10 beading needle and some 8-pound fireline. I don't know, I've got about a wingspan and a half, I'd say, to start off with. I'm not sure. That should do it. And a size 10 beading needle. So get everything together, come back, and we'll get started. Alright. Let's pick up one of the Chevron beads. Let's go ahead and pick up a 4mm fire polish bead. We'll go down through the next hole, the second hole of that chevron bead. Okay, we'll go back up through the right hole of that chevron. And then we will go up, we'll pick up another chevron like this, and with the point towards the top. Like that. Let's come back down through the left hole of that chevron. And go ahead and pull your string through. And come through that 4mm fire polish. And then come up through the right hole of that chevron. And we'll go ahead and make one side of our clasp while we're here before we get started on the body of the bracelet. So I'm going to move some of these heishi beads, or heishi. They're so tiny. So I'm going to pick up one heishi, one 8OC bead, one heishi, one 8OC bead, and one heishi. Okay. Then I'm going to pick up a 4mm cube. And then I'm going to pick up the heishi, 8-0 seed bead, heishi, 8-0 seed bead, heishi, $4mm cube, heishi, 8-0 seed bead, heishi, 8-0 seed bead, heishi, and 4mm cube. And bring those down. Alright, and then I'm going to pick up an 8-0 heishi bead, 8-0, and then the 8mm crystal bead. I'll pick up 3 heishis to make a picot on the top, and then come back down through that crystal bead, that 8mm. Make sure they form that picot. There we go. And then go back down through that 8-0 heishi, 8-0, and the 4mm crystal cube. Okay, that's what we have so far. Now we're just going to pick up a heishi, 8-0, a heishi, 8-0, heishi, and we're going to come back down through that 4mm, that second 4mm cube. Then we're going to do it again. Heishi, 8-0, heishi, 8-0, heishi. And go down through that 4mm cube. Okay, one more time. Heishi, 8-0, heishi, 8-0, heishi, and come down through that, the second hole of that chevron bead, and pull. Alright, and there's our ending and our closure, and now we will come down through the right hole of that second chevron bead, pull, and there we are. So get to this point, come back, and we'll do the next step. Okay, now we'll pick up another chevron bead, like this. Oh no, it's gonna be like this, up through, like that. And then we'll pick up a 4mm fire polished and come down through the second hole of that chevron bead. And then we'll pick up a cube, 4mm cube, bring it down, and we'll pick up another chevron like this, come down through the left hole. I did it wrong again. Sorry about that. And come down like this. Come down through that left hole. And we move everything up. Stop beads kind of getting in the way. Then we'll pick up a 4mm fire polish, go up through the right side of that chevron. It'll come up through that 4mm cube. We'll go up through the left side. Since we already came down through the right side, we want to pull it to the center, so we'll come up through that left side. That top chevron. We'll come through that fire polish. We'll come down the right side. That chevron. We'll come down the 4mm cube and the left side of the chevron. No, let's go back up and go through the right side of the chevron. Because we got to be coming the right way out of that to attach to the left side. Come through the fire polish, come up through that chevron on the left, and then we will go into that chevron previous to the ones we've added. There we go, and then we'll pull that and move that out of the way. Pull that over. We will go through that 4mm fire polish bead. and come back up through that next hole of that same chevron. And then we'll just go up through the left hole of the next chevron. Come through the fire polish. And come down through the right hole of that chevron. We'll pick up the last chevron on this or this little unit, like this, and pick up the 4mm fire polish bead. We'll go down through the right hole of that chevron bead. Pull it. There we go. We'll pull it down as tight as we can get it. And then we'll come up through the hole of very first hole of that next chevron bead. Okay. Alright, and now we want to go through that 4mm fire polish. Hold on, I got tangled. Back up through the left side of that chevron bead. Then we're going to go up into the right hole of this chevron bead on the side. Through the 4mm. Down through the right hole of that chevron bead. What we're doing is we're just going through and coming up through on the left side of the hole closest to the one we're coming out of. We're going up through, through the fire polish, and then down through. Okay, we'll go up through, through the fire polish, I've got a lot of thread on my needle. That's why it's not wanting to cooperate. Now I have a knot. I'll be right back. and then down through, and then up through. And you probably won't want to do this, but it does make a big difference in pulling all these chevron beads in line with one another. See how that totally made a big difference. Now this one's leaning a little bit. I think I got it off. I put it on too tight or something, but it just pulls them in line. Here, let me lay it down. It pulls them in line so much better if you go ahead and take your time and go around the unit once you've added them. And then we'll go through the fire polish. And then we'll go up through this next hole of that chevron bead. Because I want to shoot straight up through the cube bead. Through the left side of that chevron. Through the fire polish. And I'm just gonna, let's see, I'm going to come down through that chevron bead, the next hole in the chevron bead, and then I'm going to come up through the first hole in this chevron. Okay, and that's what we have. So get there, come back, and we'll do the next step. Alright, so let's go through the fire polish bead. And let's pick up the chevron bead like this. And we'll come down through the right side of that bead and back through that fire polish bead. And then we'll go back up through the left side of that chevron. And just to make it more secure, we'll come down through the right side and the next chevron. And then we'll go up to the left side and the next chevron, both chevrons. And then now we're ready to add our next unit like this. Okay. Now we'll pick up our chevron has to be up like this. So we'll go up through the left hole. And pick up our 4mm fire polish. And we'll come down through the right side. or the right hole. Alright, then we'll pick up our next chevron like this. And pick up our 4mm fire polish, go down through that next hole. And I think I'm going to go ahead and do the next chevron and see so we'll pick up our next chevron. Okay, where's the hole? Of course the hole's growed over. It's not drilled all the way. We'll pick up. Let me move this up. Pick up that. We'll pick up our 4mm fire polish. Go down through the next hole. Okay, let's pick up our cube, and we will go up through the right side, or the right hole of the chevron above. There we go. And we'll go up. Down through that left hole, and down through that. I don't know if we can do it. I don't think we can get it at the same time. Down through that cube bead. And down through that chevron. And the bottom. Now we have the hook. Great. Let's see, how was that? There we go. Flip it over. No. Okay. We really want to be coming up. See how we're coming out this way? We want to be going the other direction. So we'll go back up through that side and go down through the other side of that same chevron. Come through the fire polish. And up through that bottom chevron. And then we'll go hook connected to the previous, like that. And then we'll come up through this fire polish down through the next hole. Okay, and there we are. Now, like I said before, we really ought to come up through each bead, through the fire polish, back down, up, through the fire polish, back down, up, through the fire polish, back down, up, through the fire polish, back down. You know, we really should go back all the way around this to pull them in a little bit closer to each other. So go ahead and do that, come back, and we'll do the next. Okay, now let's pick up our chevron bead. We're coming out of course, we're coming out of the fire polish. So let's pick up chevron, come down through the opposite hole, or the next hole of that chevron, and come back down through that fire polish. Now come up through that hole of the chevron, on whichever side of the fire polish you're coming out of. Go down through the next hole and the one underneath of it, the chevron underneath of it. So coming down through the hole that's aligned on one side of both of the chevron. I keep pulling this out of my hand because I put lotion on my hands, and they're slippery. And then we'll come back up the next hole and the one above it. There we are. And then we'll pick up the next chevron, and we'll do just like we did before. We'll pick up a fire polish bead, we'll go down through the next hole of that chevron, and we'll pick up the next chevron like that. Pick up a 4mm fire polish. We'll go down through the next hole of that same chevron. Pick up the next chevron, We'll pick up the 4mm fire polish, go down through the next toe of that same chevron, like this. And then we'll do our cube. We'll put our cube, we'll go up through the right, no, let's see, we'll go up through the left side, yeah, we'll go up through the left toe, about chevron above it. We'll come through the fire polish, down through the right hole, it'll be easier for you because, like, I hate to pick it up, so I don't know if you can see what I'm doing. It's much easier though if you pick it up, down through the cube, up through the right hole of that chevron, the bottom chevron. Through the fire polish. Up through that left hole, that bottom chevron. And then we're going to jump over into the next chevron, that bottom hole there, and pull it together. Then go through the fire polish and go through the left hole, depending on how you're holding it, but you know, you'll know when you're working on your own bracelet. Come down through that hole and just do what we did in with the previous units. You know, you're going to go all around them again, up through the left hole, through the fire polish, down through the right, up through the left hole, through the fire polish, down through the right, all the way around. Work your way back over to this fire polish, work your way back over to this fire polish, add your next beginning of your next unit, you know, add it like we did previously. Alright, how many units have I made in this bracelet? So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you're going to end like this, by just adding, like you're going to make another unit, but this stopping there. Okay? So make 2 more units, end off like this, come back, and we will do this side of the closure. Okay, so we're at the end here, and now we're going to make the other side of the rest of our bracelet and the rest of the clasp. So we're going to pick up a 2mm heishi. Instead of this, you can use an 11/0 seed bead or a 15/0 seed bead, a 8/0 seed bead, heishi bead, seed bead, heishi bead, a cube, 4mm cube, heishi, 8/0 seed bead, heishi bead, 8/0 seed bead, heishi bead, and a cube, heishi bead, 8/0 seed bead, heishi bead, seed bead, heishi bead, and a cube. Okay, so that's what we've got. Now we're going to do a seed bead, a heishi bead, seed bead. Well, actually, let's remove that last seed bead. And let's see, let's put on a fire polish. Alright, and then we're going to pick up enough of the 8/0 seed beads to go around our closure bead. Plus a little bit, just a little bit of space, because we want to peyote this. Alright, so to test it, I just, let's see. Come down through that fire polish. Alright, let me count. See how many 8/0s I have on here. 2, 4, 6, 8. Wait a minute. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. I'm going to put 2 more on. That way, when we peyote around, it won't be too tight. So I've got 18 8/0 seed beads. Alright, and so we'll come down through these 2. Alright, and then we're going to pick up heishi 8/0. Heishi 8/0, heishi. Like that. Just like we did on the way up. Go back down through that 4mm cube. Heishi 8/0, heishi 8/0, heishi. And go down through the next 4mm cube. And we'll do same thing. Heishi 8/0, heishi 8/0, heishi. And we'll go down through this side of that chevron. Okay, get that done, come back, and we'll do the next. Alright, so we're coming out right here, this, chevron. We'll just jump down into the next, right underneath of it. We'll head up through this chevron. They're getting a bit tight. And then we'll jump up into that 4mm fire polish. Alright, and we'll pick up heishi, 8-0, heishi, 8-0, 4mm cube, heishi, no, 8-0, heishi, 8-0, heishi, and then go through that 4mm fire polish bead. Alright, do it again, heishi, 8-0, heishi, 8-0, cube, 8-0, heishi, 8-0, heishi, and go through the next fire polish. Okay, alright, do that 2 more times. Alright, now to get to the other side, we'll just cut down through this chevron bead right out of that 4mm fire polish bead, through the cube bead, and through the right side here of this chevron bead, and through that bite cone. Then one more time we'll pick up, well, we'll do it together one time, heishi, 8-0, heishi, 8-0, cube, 8-0, heishi, 8-0, heishi bead. Right like that. There we go. And come through the next fire polish bead. Now do that all the way down. We'll come down, peyote the loop, and we'll be done. Alright. We're coming out of this fire polish bead at the end here. We put on our stripe. And then we're going to come down through this chevron bead. We're going to come up through this chevron bead, the one right beneath it, and then we're going to come up one side here, we're just making our way up to our, here we go. I'm going to just come up to our first bead. You don't have to do this peyote part if you don't want. I just like it. I think it makes it stronger. Alright, and then we're just going to pick up a bead, 8-0. Coming out of here, we're going to skip this 8-0 and go up through the next 8-0. Pick up an 8-0. Coming out this 8-0, skip this one, go up through the next. Pick up an 8-0, skip this 8-0, go through the next 8-0. Pick up an 8-0, skip this 8-0, go through the next. Skip this 8-0, go through the next. I'm going to turn it around because I'm right-handed. Pick up an 8-0, skip that 8-0, go to the next 8-0. Pick up an 8-0. I'm going to skip that 8-0 and go through the next 8-0. Pick up an 8-0, skip that 8-0, go through the next 8-0. Alright, and then we'll just go down that very next 8-0. If you want to go back and fill in your peyote, you just come back through that very first 8-0, go up through, step up into that one that the ones that we peyote, the next row that we peyoted, and then maybe with a 4mm bead or fire polish you can fill in those gaps like that. Jump into the next up bead, pick up a 4mm, jump into the next up bead, pick up a 4mm, jump into the next up bead, jump to a 4mm, go through the next up bead, pick up another fire polish, go through the next up bead, then fire polish, go through the next up bead, and then you'll go back down into the next two 8-0s, or the last two, I would say. Well, there's one that's kind of on the diagonal, and then the one that we started in. And then we'll come down through the 4mm, the heishi bead, and the 8-0, and we'll start tying off, but not before the heishi bead. They're too small to pull the knot up into. Okay, let me get down through the heishi bead, the 2mm heishi bead. They're so tiny. Well, I was going to show you how to tie off real fast, or sew off, whatever. More like tying half-hitch knots. But I fear it'll take me, let's see, Alright, so there. Now, let me get that uncaught. And then what to do is you just go under the thread bridge, which is the thread that's between these two beads, where my thread's coming out. And you'll pull down till you have a loop. You'll needle through that loop and pull down the knot in between those two beads, and then go through your next two beads, especially if there's a small bead, because these 2mm heishi beads, there's no way we could tie the knot and pull the knot up into that one. So go under the thread bridge, pull down till you have a loop, needle through that loop, and pull down, and then go through the next bead, pulling that knot up into that bead. Alright, so continue to go down, and then you could go back up, tie a knot, and then you'll be doing the same thing with your tail thread. Probably best place to do it is either right here or on these sides here. Alright, so do all that, come back, and we'll look at our bracelets. Okay, here's our bracelet. There we go. There's the more colorful one. And here's the black and white one. I hope you like the animal print bracelets, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching, everybody.